Okay, hello. So I'm going to help you with some of these very odd problems from your homework. These are actual problems from your homework. I'm not going to tell you which problems, so you're going to have to figure that out for yourself. But these are like the different types of problems you're going to see in that homework that we're looking for the percent. So this first question we're going to look at is 12 is what percent of 20? There's my little question mark. 12 is what percent of 20? So I'm going to set up my percent bit, which is the missing number. Well, I'll put it as an n over 100. We equals. And then 12 is what percent of 20? 20 is in the same position as the 100 because that's the full value. That looks like a 26. That's a 20 to 0. And then I put my 12 over the 20 because that's what I'm trying to find out. Now, if you remember with proportions, since we're talking about this is equal to that, 100 divided by 5 gives me 20. So 12 times 5 will give me my answer there. That's a fast way to do it. But let's not do that. Let's do it the long way. So we're going to do 100 with cross multiplication. 100 times 12. Well, we should know that's 12. And the two zeros. 12, 0, 0. And then 20 times our n is 20 n. Now we're going to divide. We're going to try to separate that out. So we're going to divide by 20 here. It crosses itself out and gives me n. And then we'll have to divide this side by 20 to get our answer. But there's zeros here, so I can just do that. And now my problem is a little bit simpler. 120 divided by 2, which hopefully you know right off bat is 6. 12 divided by 2, 6 plus a 0, 60. So my final answer, not 60 equals n, but is actually 60%. Nice and simple. There it is. 60%. That is my final answer. 12 is 60% of 20. All right? And, okay, so that one was pretty straightforward and easy. They're not all going to be like that. So let's see some other examples from your homework. Here we go. This one is 48. I'm going to leave the is out. Is what percent? Because this is more like what your homework looks like. Is what percent of 64? This one should be pretty easy, but we'll see. Let's see what happens. Again, I don't know the percent, but I do know that a percent means a number over percent per 100 over 100. So I'm going to put n over 100. And that equals, what is in the 100 place? What's the full value? Well, that's that, number 64. And 48 is of that number. So the of that number goes there. This number goes on top. 48 over the 64. Cross multiply, 100 times 48 gives me 48, because 48 times 1 is 48, and then add the two zeros. And 64 times n is simply 64n. Beep. Now I want to get rid of that 64 to get n by itself. I'm going to divide both sides by 64. And I get, cross those out, and then I got n on this side. Woo! And then I have 480, well, 4,800 divided by 64. Oy vey. So yeah, let's just do the long division. Oh, long division. No, yes. It's good for us to practice anyway. 48. 800 divided by, put that in the house, that's 0. And 64. So 64 can't go into 4. It can't go into 48. It has to go into 480. Oh boy. Now I'm wondering, how close can I get? 64 is a little bit a harder one to think about. I can do maybe 75, right? And let's just do straightforward. Let's find it. I'm going to guess. So I'm going to do 64 times, I know it's not 10. If it was times 3, let's see, let's say times 5. 5 times 60 is 300. Not big enough. And 5 times 4 would be 20. So no, I need a bigger number than 5. 6 times 3 is 60. Maybe 7. Let me try 7. Eek. 7 times 4 is 28. Uh, 7 times 6, 42 plus 2, 4. Oh, that's a good that was a good guess. Look at that. Well, of course, I know mathematically. That helped me along the way, right? My math skills, right? 4, 4, 8. So let me double check that. Yeah, 8 to 7 to 42, 43, 44. Yes. Okay. So now I know this is going to be the 7. And I know this is 4, 4, 8. I'm going to put that down here. 7 times 64 is 4, 4, 8. That's supposed to be 8. And subtract. Yeah, 8, 7. Borrowing. And that's going to be 10. So that's 2. And 7 minus 4 is 3. And then I'll drop a 0 here. 320. Now, if you remembered a minute ago, I did 5 times, in my head, I did 5 times 60 was 300, and 5 times 4 is 20, which is 320. So I already know, having just done that little bit of math in my head, that 5 times 64 is 320. You can piece it out if you want on the side if you don't believe me. You want to double check. But I can also do this. 5 times 4 is 20. Carry the 2. 5 times 6 is 30 plus 2, 32. Oh, 320. Okay. Minus 320. This is going to be my answer. You see that? 75. So 75 equals n. But I'm not done because the question is asking for a percent. So it's 75%. Yay, that was pretty easy. Not too bad. A little bit of math over here, but that's okay. That's good for us. The math is good for us. Yep, might take us some time, but that's pretty good. All right, and we circle our answer. I expect you to do that in your homework. All right, and don't be as messy as I am right here. It's only because I'm doing this digitally. There goes the bouncing ball, erasing everything. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, you can stop the video if I did that too fast and you need to go back. All right, but I'm just trying to get this in. Okay, here's our next very strange problem. This one's where it gets really weird. Okay, we got 1.8 is what percent, I'm leaving off the is, guys, is what percent of 6. This is, again, from the homework. And there's a few of them like this, so here's how we deal with them. So we got a decimal in the middle of all of this. Don't let that throw you off. We're just going to do the same process. So what percent? I don't know. So it's n over, I hear you. You're screaming it out right now, aren't you? Yay! Or it might be screaming it out in your head. 100! Yes. Equals. And what's the 100 value? Well, that's 6. So it's going to sit here. And on top is our 1.8. 1.8. Okay, now what, Dr. Power? Okay, same thing. 100 times 1.8. So 100 times 1.8. We do this as mental math. And remember, we're making it bigger. So we're moving the decimal 2 places, 1, 2. So I'm going to just show you 1.8 times 100. Move out 2 decimal places. We're making the number larger because we're multiplying. So it's 1, 8, 0. Guys, look at that. Oh, this is why Dr. Power does all this mental math with us and make this so much easier. Because if you had to actually do all this stuff, it would take forever. But anyway, 6 times n, 6n. So yeah, that was mental math. I know, we're getting like, oh, not mental math. All right. And so yeah, we got 6 times n, which is 6n. Going to divide both sides by 6. It's not as hard as it looked. Do you see? I'm going to cross that out. We got, just because it was a decimal number, don't let that throw you off. N, and then this. This is what I mean by not as hard as we think. We go 18 divided by 6. So you put this 0 aside in your mind. But 18 divided by 6 is 3, and then add your 0 back in. 3, 0, just like we do in mental math again, right? And there's your answer. But no, that's not my answer. My answer needs to be in percent. 30 equals n, so it's 30%. Yes. See? Lot easy. That looks so scary, but it wasn't, was it? I hope not. All right, we'll do another very weird one. And let's see if it's how scary it is. Here's my bouncing ball erasing everything. Another weird one we might encounter is this one. Aha. Pencil out. I got my pencil out, which is, this problem is, again, from your homework. 3/8 is what percent of 3/4? Oh, man. Oh my, what on earth are we gonna do here? Okay, well, same thing. We're gonna set it up just the same. Oh, this is gonna get a little strange. I'm not gonna lie. We're gonna begin with this, which is what over 100, n over 100 is our percent. What percent is, okay, what's at the bottom of that? So this number's at the bottom. It's 3/4. Oh, is down here, and up here is 3/8. Wow, we are getting into some very strange math where it's looks like this and it looks really odd, but think about it. This part of the problem, 3/8 divided by 3/4, you see that? Is actually just 3/8. And if you need to put it out like this, and I would, just reconfigure it, divided by 3/4. Because remember that fractions are really just division problems, right? So in this case, 3/8 divided by 3/4. Remember, you cannot divide fractions, right? You have to multiply by the inverse. So it becomes 3/8 times 4/3. Oh, and what's really cool and genius about this is that I can cross reduce. If you remember about cross reducing, that 4 becomes a 1, that 8 becomes a 2, right? Because they have common factors, so I can reduce. 4 divided by 4 is 1, 8 divided by 4 is 2. I can also do that, cross reduce these 3's. 1, that becomes a 1, that becomes a 1. Now I multiply across. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. That's 1/2. Oh, did I make this harder than it actually is? Because we just did that division, and maybe we didn't need to do that. But hey, we just reduced it down. And we have now n over 100 equals 1/2. Because we just reduced that down to 1/2. This divided by that is 1/2. Now if I do it, I got a 100. 100 times 1 is 100. 2 times n is 2n. Divide both sides by 2. And I got 50 equals n, which is 50%. Okay, so this thing here, maybe you don't have to do. So like, okay, let's look. So that was one way. Let's try. I'm going to undo. I'm going to undo it, and then we'll try it another way, and then see if that's a little easier in your brain, depending on how your brain wants to deal with it. So let's try it where, oh shoot, I want the big bouncing ball. Yeah, let's try it like this. This, oh, I don't know why I shouldn't have erased that bit, but think about it this way too. All right. N over 100 equals, remember it's 3/4 with the 100, 3/8. Okay. Without doing this division bit right here. Instead, 100 times 3/8. I'm going to put it 100 over 1 times 3/8 equals 300 over 8, which is how many 8s in 30? How close can I get? 3, which is 24. And then 6, at least me 6, so 60. 60 divided by 8. How close can I get? Well, 7. It's 56. 37 and, oh my gosh, don't do it this way. Okay, I think we've established, because then this is going to be 37 1/2, I guess. Yeah. Because it would be, right, 56 4/8, 4/8, which reduces to 1/2, 37.5. Okay, I'll just do it anyway, okay, just so you can see. My way, I think, was a little easier. The first way I showed you. 37 1/2 is equal to, and then 3/4 n. 3/4 times n. Some of you are probably like, why don't we just change it to decimals? You're right. You could do that. You could do that, and it might make it easier. Then you would divide both sides by 3/4. And divide this 37 1/2 by 3/4. And at this point, I probably would change this to an improper fraction. Oh, Lord. I don't know, guys. This one's pretty tough. Oh, what do we get? 74. If 75 over 2. If I change this to an improper fraction, so I could divide it by, so this is going to be n, divided by 3/4. Which is technically, am I right about that? 14, carry the 1, 6, 7. Yeah, okay, I don't know why I just suddenly felt like I was doing it wrong. Okay, 75 seconds times 4/3. Okay, now cross reduce. That'll be 1. That'll be 2. And yeah, you could cross reduce this one. 3 to 1 and 25. And then 25 times 2 is 50 over 1, which is 50. So you get 50 equals n, or 50%. So that way you still got the right answer, but did you see how many steps we had to go through in order to do that? Again, you could turn this into decimals, and you can work with decimals. That's like another way to do it. Whatever way makes the most sense for you and is easiest. This was pretty challenging, I will say that. So I think my first way was probably the best, which is just immediately divide this to reduce this out and then do it. But see if it makes sense to do it in a different way that makes it easier, like just convert these to decimals or whatever you want to do, maybe at the very start, and then work with decimals. Undo this. I think, okay, so that's it. Those are the types of problems that you're going to see. And take a look at your homework, and then if you have any questions for me, feel free to ask, and we can go through. And if this is the stumper, and it looks like it is going to be the stumper for us, we can work on those on Thursday. Let me know. Thanks, guys.